What is Sonic Adventure 2 known for? Well, to me, it's a few things. It introduced grinding, it introduced the A-rank score-based ranking system, and created Sonic's first real style system. And personally, I think the style system is dog-ass bad. Oh yeah, we're doing this. I think Sonic Adventure 2's style system sucks. Now, why would I say that? In fact, most people say the ranking system and such in SA2 is near perfect. Besides me having beef with the fact that I get less points for being fast than going out of my way to go slow, here is my Pyramid Cave rank where I go for points, and here is my ranking trying to go fast. Yeah, that's bullshit. I should be rewarded for going fast, not slowly going through rings. But I digress. The main problem with SA2's ranking system is its level of inconsistency. SA2 doesn't give you points for chaining moves together like a game with a style meter. Well, that's technically untrue, but let me explain. It gives you points for specific actions a lot of the time. Now, for the mech stages and the treasure hunting stages, this works beautifully. The mechs get points for how far you can chain a combo, which sadly caps out at about 10. It's pretty lame, but the rules are clearly defined and consistent. In the treasure hunting stages, it's based off of time. There is an invisible timer, which makes it a little bit more BS, but the idea is to find the emerald shards quickly. The added skill being that asking for hints speeds up your time. It's a common misconception, but you can still use the hints and get an A rank as long as you're fast. You also get max points if you find an emerald out of order, which is the only reason I could think of where you would make a game where you could only find one at a time. But you see, maybe the rules are weird, but they're consistent across the board, in every level, every time. Not in the speed stages though. In the speed stages, you can get points from a lot of things. Grinding, tricking, light speed dashes, enemies, somersaulting, going through rings, or taking a harder path. Now ideally, these would work all the time, but they really don't. The points given out are super inconsistent. A perfect example is in City Escape. This first rail gives me 300 points, which means every rail at bare minimum should give me 300 points. But why do these two rails, which require more skill than just taking one rail, still only gives me 300? It doesn't really make sense. Final Rush suffers from this a lot. This secret rail over here doesn't give me points, but this secret path does, and this later rail gives me 300 points. But why though? You can make the argument that some of these secret rails end in tricks so you get your points there, but that isn't how the game functioned till right now. Before, skillfully grinding would get me points. Now I only get points off of tricks. Also, I still get points without tricks for grinding, but only sometimes. No matter how you look at it, this is sloppy design. Light speed dashes are weird too. Some give you points, but others don't. It's really up to the game's discretion. Just look at the infamous light speed dash trail in Green Forest. It's almost completely arbitrary. You can say, oh, but that light speed dash isn't that important. But look at Metal Harbor. They're just giving the light speed dashes out and handing out points with them. The hell? It doesn't matter that the level introduces the light speed dash. The rules should be consistent across the board, not on a level by level basis. This leads to the points being borked. Grinding in City Escape is 300 on average. In Green Forest it's 500. It goes back to 300 in Pyramid Cave. Like, why are you like this, dude? And don't even get me started on the goddamn rings in Pyramid Cave. That has nothing to do with the grinding, and still it's its own points issue. But the biggest offenders for this grinding point mismanage is again Final Rush and Skyrail. both have problems of not giving you any points for grinding at all. I get that they are grinding levels, but you can't give a player a system then completely ignore it, especially when you're asking them to do more. This really becomes a problem again in Final Rush. Hell, it starts with the first jump. So, in this level, you can trick off of rails. Cool. This is a pretty sick system. Now, off of this first jump, I have a choice of hitting the ground or taking that rail for a shortcut. Which one do you think gives me the 1,000 points I'm owed? Time's up. Did you pick the rail? Well, I'm sorry, you assume this game was programmed by someone with common sense. You only get points if you touch the ground. You have to actively be less stylish to get the points. You can't land on rails to get points because rails don't give you points anymore. So instead of stacking it, it just cancels out the trick you just did. This is crazy. This is also a problem in Skyrail too, but the problem is worse because you can accidentally exit the level without points, which is the same problem from Green Forest because the points don't load in time. And you know what? Let's just get back to grinding. That's a whole separate issue. So I can hear someone saying, well, the level is built around grinding. Why would they give you points? Even though I disagree, let's say that. The level still has major issues. Let me remind you, the level gives you points for taking secrets and hard to get pathways. This one right here gives me a bunch of points. And I have no problem with that. This is great design. What? But the problem with this is that there is 2 other secret / hard to get pathways that offer no points at all. And I also don't get any points from those enemies down there, probably because I didn't touch the ground. So the rail once again cancels out the points that I'm owed. The points are still messed up even without my grinding complaint. You know what? It is still bothering me. Let's talk about the rings in Pyramid Cave.
Swim for all the rings!
The level sets up a very clear formula. The rings get you points. The ones in the air give you 400, ground 200, and a homing attack with rings is 100. So you think that would be consistent in at least this level, right? Right? But in the second area with rings that's harder, you actually get 0 points for the homing attacking ones, even though there are 2 of them. And the ones on the ground don't give you 200 each anymore, even though you jump through 3 of them. And they add a new one that awards 600 for the light speed dash, which that one's actually fine. But then the one hanging in the air now gives me 600 points. Why in the first section do I get less points for doing the exact same thing? The points are random. They are given out on a ring by ring basis. Why are you like this? Now, an easy counter argument is that it's based on difficulty. And boy, do I have a story for you about if the game bases your style on difficulty. Do y'all remember City Escape? I do. And I specifically remember these orange ramps that give you 200 points. And hey, that's fair. No problems or complaints here. Do you remember the truck chase? I remember the truck chase. I also remember that there are 2 trick ramps, one with dash pads that you can't see, and one without that you can't see. And you know, it's really hard to hit the second one naturally. And luckily, for this video, I hit both naturally. Can you guess how many points I got? 200! This last section is about miscellaneous things that happen while playing this game that just leaves me with a giant question mark. Why is this route so finicky? Because the style points don't stack naturally. I don't get points unless I perfectly land on the dash panels, even though I should get partial points for at least the light speed dash, since the game does that for a lot of the light speed dash trails. Why don't I get points for launching myself off these perfectly? Not a big thing or anything, just seems like it would be a feature. I don't know why I got more points on one try than the other, because they were both almost perfect. What was the criteria for this? Why is this one of the only levels that gives me points for somersaulting? At least make that consistent. Green Forest has this stupid grinding top path that only gives you points if you use the shitty rail change. This is more of a problem with the rail change, but manually jumping should still give me points since it gives me points in other levels still. Why don't I get points for hitting this ring balloon that requires precision? Why don't I get points for grinding on the Golden Gate Bridge in Radical Highway? That shit is sick, and it's the most stylish part of the level. But no, let's give him points for somersaulting boxes? The fuck? So yeah, that's pretty much all my problems with the SA2 style system. But I'm not one to complain without offering a solution. While I know we are all on the frontier side of things, this is just a hypothetical if we ever come back to the adventure formula or use a style system in a future game. These are the inspirations I want to see. First up, Tony Hawk. I know a lot of people say that 3D Sonic should be like Tony Hawk, so I'm gonna be really specific here. Tony Hawk is a trick game where the goal is to get as many points as possible doing different tricks for various amounts of points. You have flips, grinds, and grabs as your main trick distributions, but also some extras. You get points for reverts, which is a single button press after landing a trick, manuals, which is a balancing act and good for gliding in between tricks and ramps or grinds, the wall splat, where you could jump off a wall, and level-specific challenges like grinding on a certain rail or making a certain jump. What's also great is that there is no limit to how high a combo can go, which means you can get a crap ton of points by doing silly stuff like this. So, what do I want Sonic to take from this? Well, obviously, I want it to have a clearly defined point system that is consistent across the board. But it also has two specific moves that Sonic should steal. Just like how there's filler moves like reverts, manuals, and wall splats in Tony Hawk, I think Sonic should also have its own set of filler moves that keep the points up. Specifically, in Sonic Adventure 2's case, the somersault and bounce bracelet should be a part of the style system. They should count as minor filler moves to keep the combo going. Just a few seconds longer, just so the flow can be organic. I also think it should get rid of the limit for the amount of points you can get, or at least drastically raise the number from 2,000 points, which is the equivalent of just beating 10 enemies in the mech stages. And finally, I cannot emphasize enough, let moves build on each other like a combo. I never want to be in a situation where grinding on two rails back to back do not get me more points than grinding on one rail or no rail at all. One thing that shouldn't be taken from Tony Hawk, though, is that if you touch the ground, the combo ends there. There is a 0-second grace period. If it isn't a revert or a manual, the combo just ends. And I don't think a Sonic game should only be taking points from you being in the air. So let's move on to the next game Sonic should steal from. DMC 5 is a great action game with a relatively simple but satisfying style system. It's all about keeping your combo up and not getting hit, while using the guns as filler between combos. You also have to vary your movement so the rank goes up quicker, and when you do get a high enough rank, the music goes into full gear. It always feels damn good. So in Sonic, I think the style system should do basically exactly that. It should be more like a meter that keeps going up, and once you reach an A or an S ranking, the music for the level ramps up, like the boosting tracks in Sonic Generations. For those who don't know, yes, Gens has 2 tracks for some levels when you're boosting. Here's a comparison. See, pretty obvious in a vacuum. But yeah, I think the style system should affect the music and not just go away because you hit the ground. I feel it should linger for maybe about 5 to 10 seconds before all the points are added up. I do think getting hit should completely fuck up the combo though. Now, a thing that is not in either of these style systems that should be in a Sonic style system is maintaining a certain speed, on top of all the light speed dashing enemies and tricks. That is a perfect style for a Sonic game. And to be honest, the video was supposed to end around here, me complaining about SA2, putting forth a solution that works, and we all go home. But while making the video, I realized I just recreated the Sonic GT Combo Star system to a certain extent. Yeah, well, not exactly the style system I had in mind, it's pretty close to my idea, and I think it would be disingenuous not to highlight it. So, how does Sonic GT's style system work? Well, you get rewarded for speed, tricks, enemies, rings, and grind rails. You can get 3 stars in each, and a second layer of 3 stars that adds a 2 times multiplier. For example, if you have 6 stars, when the combo completes, you get 12. But on top of that, there's a multiplier for each layer of style you do, and that goes up to 5. So, with all the multiplications, I'm not the best at math. I think it tops out at about 300 stars. That's the maximum amount of stars you can get in a level. It's a more complicated version of the Tony Hawk system, but hey, it makes sense and it works. The combo star also affects the ranking, so the levels can be balanced around it without the system being explicitly score-based. This system works near perfectly in a Sonic game setting, and one of my only mechanical critiques, which truly comes down to a personal preference, is that the combo ends when you get hit, which is fair, but it also goes away if you go below a certain speed immediately. And personally, I would give the player a few seconds to keep the combo up, but it's not like it's a bad decision. So, a combination of all 3 of these style systems should work to create a satisfying, fast-paced, flowy style system that rewards you for going fast, not taking the slower path just for points. See, I can complain and still come up with a solution, and hey, if you like SA2's point system the way it is, that's fine. I would look at you weird and not get it at all, but it's still fine. To each their own. Just argue with me in the comments. I read all of them. Oh my god, I did it. I actually made a real video. Yeah, I told you guys, I'm actually making videos again. I had to edit this over the course of like 3 days, but I did it and it's done, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. So I hope you enjoyed it for what it was, and not disappointed that it wasn't over an hour long. The video wasn't supposed to be this long anyway. What are we at, 18 minutes? It was supposed to be 5/7. It was supposed to be a short video. This is short for me, I guess. I had way too much to say, and there was stuff I already cut out because I was at risk of repeating myself. But I'm not going to get all that. Well, if you're here at the end of the video, thank you for sticking around. You know, like, subscribe if you liked what you saw. Here's probably some videos on screen that you should probably watch. Since this is a Sonic video, I probably have a Sonic video up. Or if I don't, there should be the Discord up. We're currently actually racing all the mainline Sonic games in there for a first place prize of $100. So if you want to join, hey, join in. We're currently on Sonic CD, so there's still time to hop in and show us what you're made of. I gotta sleep. It is currently 4 a.m. and I still have to put music in this video. So see you next time.